Growing up, it seems as if you can make a new friend everywhere you go and you will have hundreds of friends for the rest of your life. But for me, and probably a lot of you, as you've gotten older, you've seen your friend groups slowly get smaller and start to fade away. And that's what I want to talk about today. And today, I'm actually joined by a guest who has a little bit of a different perspective on the matter. And that is my friend, CollinMeCrazy. Colin, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hello. How are you guys? How are you doing, Dan?
I am doing great. I'm really grateful that I get the opportunity to hop on a call and talk to you kind of about this topic. It's just something that's kind of been on my mind, and the inspiration from this kind of sparked and stemmed from your video, Dreaming of a Dead Friend. And that kind of got me thinking, as well as watching one of my friends graduate, about how as you're starting to get older, it seems like many of your friends kind of start to fade away and get smaller and smaller, and you only have like one or two real friends throughout the rest of your life. And after talking to you a little bit briefly, it sounds like that is a little bit different for you. Could you give me a little bit about that?
So, yeah, I made that video about my dead friend. That was back when I started college. I was kind of in the midst of COVID and all that. And I actually made a follow-up video, not talking about that specifically, but about another friend that graduated this year, this past month, and how I do have friends that move away. I've been in the same town for geez about like 6 years now, where I went to college, and a lot of them have left, which is natural. I mean, whenever you graduate high school, most people pretty much dissipate, and same thing with college. But I feel like everywhere I go, I make friends, and whether they're online or in person, I feel like definitely my online friend groups have exploded since I've been making videos, which has been great. And I still make a friend here and there. Um, I meet a guy that is at my Domino's job every maybe like 2 or 3 weeks or so, and we hang out. I do have friends still in town, luckily, which is great. But I always try to make new friends wherever I go, which is nice.
Right on. That is a good quality. I know that I struggle with that a lot where I'm not super extroverted and things like that. Some people will say that I'm completely wrong, but if I had the choice, I wouldn't talk to another soul unless I absolutely had to. So the world thinks people like you, and most of us introverted people need an extrovert like you that can kind of help us meet a bunch of new people. But moving on a little bit, do you think you have less friends now than when you were a kid, like going through grade school and stuff like that? I know for me, all through like grade school, high school, and up through college, I had a bunch of friends. And like you said, it kind of starts to trickle away as people go to college. That friend group shrinks and everyone kind of dissipates. But then you gain new friends while you're in college and things like that. Do you think you have more friends now than when you were a kid, or do you feel like you have less?
It's definitely the opposite. I think I have way more friends nowadays than I ever did as a kid. I feel like it's kind of a tragic way of thinking about it whenever I was, retrospectively looking at it. But I was pretty loner, pretty big loner when I was in elementary through like half of middle school, because I would make friends, but not a lot of them would stick around. So I would have a lot of free time to myself. And, it's funny you say I'm extroverted because I can talk so much. I don't know, maybe because of the platform and being online. I'm a little more comfortable, but I used to be like the biggest introvert. I wouldn't talk to anybody in classes. I would sleep all day. I would go hang out with friends, but it would be uncomfortable at times. But I
I
feel like
get
I've
that.
opened up a lot nowadays. Yeah, where something in high school clicked for me. I've had plenty of great friends. I have friends from elementary, middle school, and high school that I still hang out with now today. A lot of my best friends are from that time period, but it's only like a select few. It's not like a big group or anything. It wasn't until like middle of high school something just clicked one day, and I was just like, all right, I'm out of my shell. I'm just an extrovert now all of a sudden. Or, they always talk about introverted extrovert, and vice versa. So I'm like one of those where I recharge from my time alone, but I can go out and interact with people and be social. And I made a lot more friends when that clicked, and throughout college, I think is probably when I made my most amount of friends, that I still game with today. And It's kind of just gone onto there through online after I started re-uploading and coming back to YouTube, which has been great.
Gotcha. So you're kind of like a double-sided coin where you can be introverted, you can be extroverted, and you need that little bit of time of being a little bit of an introvert to kind of recharge, to go out and mingle and make much more social interactions and things like that. Is
Yeah,
that
big time.
correct?
Yeah, that's like a almost like a philosophy that I've seen before. It's been a while since I've looked at something like that, but yeah, like there are people that get their energy from being social, talking to people all the time. That's an extrovert. And then people that are introverted love their, free time by themselves. They recharge by spending time doing things they want to do alone. And I think I've realized that how that works. And so like there are moments where I'm like, yes, I would love to spend a day hanging out with a bunch of friends, or online or anything like that. And then there's other days where I'm like, I need some alone time for a while. Even in relationships, same thing.
I get that. And it's good to have your own kind of personal space and do the things that you really want to do. Cause I definitely know how, especially even like in my relationship and stuff like that, it's really nice to spend all that time with her and do everything I can with her. But every now and then, like days like today, it's nice to just kind of be like, hey, you go home, you do your thing. I'm going to kind of chill here. I'm going to talk to my friends, or I'm just going to sit here in silence and kind of recharge quite a bit. So I understand how that works. When you're talking about how you had some of those friends that come with you through middle school, high school, and up through college, I know that I have a couple of friends that have done that. My best friend, actually, I met him in preschool and was like, "You belong to me now. I'm keeping you forever." And we've stayed friends all through grade school, middle school, high school, college, and up till
Wow.
now. And he's one of like maybe two people that I've only done that with. Most of them have kind of fallen off. We used to have a big group in high school where there would be probably 15, 16 of us, and we would all go out all together all the time. And then about senior year, it kind of split into two groups, but I was able to kind of ping pong between them because I was like, I don't really have any drama. I'm here to just kind of hang out and have a good time and hopefully not go to jail. But
Hmm.
as we got older, that group kind of started to fade away. And now there's like four different little groups, and we occasionally talk, but it isn't really like it used to be where everything that everyone had on their mind was all shared together and really collective and seeked out one another for advice. How do you go about keeping your friends that you make for a longer period of time?
I really maybe single them out. It's usually when I meet the friends that I have now that are so close to me. It's like we only met like one on one. It wasn't in a group usually or anything like that. Like my best friend Zach, we met in sixth grade, and I remember the first day we met because we saw each other throughout the whole day. We were in every single class together, and by the end of the day, I was like, "Dude, I've seen you like in all my classes. Like, what's up?" And then it just went from there. Um, his buddy Orlando, who is now one of also my great friends. I didn't meet him till like 3 or 4 years later. I guess that is a mutual kind of thing, but me and Orlando had a class separately, and one day he was like, "Do you know Zach?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "He's my friend." I'm like, "Well, he's my best friend," so kind of became a competition. It's like, "No, no, 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 no. That's my best friend," and he's like, "No, no, no, that's my best friend." And so we became friends that way. We were like a trio at that point. And dude, those were like the only two guys for the longest time I hung out with. I obviously had some other friends. Like I had a friend from fourth grade that I've stuck out with. He kind of lived further out of town, so I wouldn't see him very often. And he started going to schools closer to him, which was kind of a miracle I met him anyways because he drove like an hour to get to school every day,
Wow.
in elementary, which is crazy. But I always hit that guy up whenever I can, and we it's longer as time goes on as an adult, you do get busier with things, and that man, some people just get busy and lose track of time, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually single out my friends that I make. It could be in a group, but I usually try to get like one-on-one interactions with them to understand who they are as a person, understand how they interact with other people. It's kind of rare. I really get like more than one person at a time, besides my two favorite buddies from college. Their names are Alex and Liam, and since they lived together, they were like always together. Like I can't ever see them apart.
Right.
So they were like a happy gay marriage couple, and I was like, dude, you guys are always together. So like you guys are just like permanently glued side by side. Like I can't talk about you individually, but
Yeah.
those guys are awesome too.
It's a good old package deal. And sometimes that's the best is when you can get two people that are roommates, you make friends with one, and then that just kind of blends together. And it's like, well, now we have an entire group and we are in charge of everything whenever we go out together. I
Yes.
I love that. I've definitely made a lot of friends that way, going through like college, especially when I would go and hang out with one of the guys that I would meet downstairs, and then we'd go up to his room and kind of hang out. And his roommate would come back, and I was actually in two kind of strange dorms where my dorm I had a roommate in my freshman year, and then it was a semi suite, so there was basically two rooms together that shared a bathroom, and each room had two people in it. So we'd make
Ah, okay.
friends that way. And then in my dorms out at the school that I finished at from my sophomore through senior year, some of the rooms were triples, so we would go in and end up just kind of mingling with everybody, and they would all kind of stop by my room because my room had like a punch code lock that didn't work very well, and I had the fridge always stocked with sodas and stuff like that, so I'd just kind of pop in and grab a soda, hit the vape, kind of chit chat for a little while, and kind of pass on through. So we'd make a lot of friends that way. But how do you kind of go about now, especially as someone that's done with college and things like that, like myself? How do you go about making a bunch of new friends? Where do you meet most of them? Where do you kind of figure out how you're going to like someone, and what kind of key things do you look for in a person?
Really interesting because now I'm just thinking about it as you were asking that question. I'm like, what do I like? Where do I actually meet people now? Um, I guess like work is usually the most common answer. I've met plenty of people at my job. Usually at Domino's, there's not that many people that work at my other job where I teach kids how to code. It's just like me and my boss most of the time. We're pretty small, so most of the faces I see are at work at Domino's, and there are some characters at Domino's. Everybody's pretty different in age, but the closest guy that's my age, he and me, I don't know, we just clicked one day, and he's pretty cool. I wish I could see him more, but he has a wife, and she takes up a good bit of his time. But that's a friend I've made outside of college and school, just at work. I'm sure plenty of people have work buddies as well. I just kind of try to take that extra step and like invite them over, hang out with them, every time I can get the chance to, when I have free time. So I think that kind of makes more of a friend than just seeing him at work. Um,
Right.
and then I guess the only other people I really see outside of college and all that and work would be, I guess, my roommate. I used to, I recently moved twice, um, in 1 month, which was not fun. And
Brutal.
when I moved the first time, I don't really consider the people I lived with roommates. They were all adults doing their own thing. Um, the one roommate that was there, he would work his ass off, but whenever he was over, he was pretty cool. He was a chill guy. He was a little foreign, so I couldn't understand him super well, but he was really helpful with like helping me move and stuff, which I appreciated. And then my roommate I have now, the second time I moved this year, he's chill. Also, don't see him very much. People really are like workaholics around here, I guess.
Right.
Um, so when I do see him, he's friendly, he's nice, and I met a few of his friends already who are also pretty nice. So kind of that way as well. If you live with someone, you're out on your own. It's usually pretty cheap to find a roommate and split rent with. So that's what I've been doing, and yeah, you meet people through that way as well.
Gotcha. I know for me, like at my last job is actually predominantly where I met a lot of my like really close friends. The older guy that is kind of like my second dad, but also like best friend up here. He was actually my boss, and I followed him over from another job there, and we really kicked it off and became friends at that job. So I can see 100% why jobs are the places to really start kind of making friends as you kind of turn into an adult. For me, I feel like I'm kind of that weird situation where in my role that I'm in, I'm kind of on I'm upstairs, so I don't deal a whole lot with downstairs people, which is where predominantly the younger generation of kids are. The kids that are a little bit closer to my age. So it's kind of hard for me to get down there, coerce and commingle with all of those guys. And then everyone on my floor, since that's kind of where the more professional people are a lot older and a lot more serious. They're like, hey, no, I don't really want to go out and have a beer with you and whatnot. So it's a little difficult there, but I have made quite a few friends there. I have my work wife, as I've been told that that's how I should see her, which is kind of an
Interesting.
interesting situation. It's all good. But yeah, I made some friends there. I don't feel like I've made as many as I would really like just because it's that weird, like I'm the young guy on my floor, but I'm also the old guy kind of downstairs and I don't really get to talk to them a whole lot. So it's like
Mm.
we know each other, we know their names, but we don't really know anything about one another. So I may have to try and get down there a little bit more and get to talking with people and see about making friends there and kind of going through. But one of the places that I have made a lot of my friends and how I actually met you is through the internet. Do you think that the internet has helped or hurt friendships and has been any benefit or problem to how we go about making new friends in this modern day and age?
Boy, that's a question and a half. I think my answer would be way too long to go into depth about that. There's so many like different. I just like my brain just like split into 12 different spots all of a sudden. I was like, oh my
Right.
gosh. Um, well, I can't say like overall, if you look at it from a big scope, I can't
Hmm.
say making online friends is a bad thing because throughout like most of middle school, my best friend, he moved out of town for a good while, and that was like the only person I really talked to. So throughout that time, I was a freaking fiend on Instagram, and I would use Instagram so much, not addictively, but like purposefully. And I would talk to people on there, and I met quite a few internet friends through Instagram, and
Really?
yeah, it was kind of a weird because I wasn't really. I don't know where else I'd meet friends. Like usually like gaming, you would think so. And like
Hmm.
yeah, but I didn't like talk to these people every day like I did like people on Instagram just because DMs easy to text. When I'm playing games, it's just like I'm just playing games.
Right.
um so it's beneficial in scenarios like that where you're in a situation where you're probably pretty lonely and you want to talk to somebody. Maybe some of your in real life friends can't just hop online all the time. So online friends are great for that, especially if they're in different time zones and you guys can like match up at a good time. I think that's very beneficial. But it can be a hindrance as well, especially with like dating. This is probably a video I really want to make at some point, but I've dipped my toes pretty far into online dating
Hmm.
before like COVID, and it can hurt real bad and shape your reality in a way where um you don't really want to talk to anybody ever again in like that realm of like romance. It could
Yes.
get bad. So I don't know. I'm not really huge about online dating anymore. Um, and I can't really make a decision for you, like people that are listening, to go do it or not. Just, be careful is my best advice that I can give. But it can be beneficial. Some people, the most famous, example I can give where it has helped someone tremendously is PewDiePie, because he
Hmm.
met his wife, Martia, online. I think they were, well, he was in Sweden, she was in Italy, so they're pretty far apart, and that's how they met through online. I think it was like a mutual friend or something. Um, it was pretty quick. They met in person. I think that's the key. If you're gonna meet someone online, you better have intentions to meet them in person, pretty soon if you like them enough and they stick around. And that's just like, I mean, they're married now. They live in Japan. They've moved with each other. They had a whole life already with each other. They have kids now. So it can work out, but um, I've tried my hand and I don't think it's just worked out for me. It's not something I pursue anymore.
I get that. I would definitely recommend making a video on that. Maybe we can talk about something doing that. I have kind of wanted to do a follow up to my most popular video, which is the dating sucks video that I done. And we can talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit later, but I feel kind of how you do. Like Granted, I am very, very lucky. I did actually meet the lady that I am with now and have had the happiest relationship ever, even though it's only been a couple of months, which is weird because I'm not one of those people. I normally am like, I'm going to wait until like at least a year or two to be like, yeah, I'm genuinely happy. But I don't know what kind of wizardry spell magic she has put on me, but it has made me happy. And I actually met her through Hinge, but I have gone through plenty of bad times, kind of like what you were saying, and got hurt very violently through online dating apps and things like that. But I always look back and I'm really miss when games would kind of force you to be in game chat and things like that, like Modern Warfare 2 and like going into GTA 5 lobbies just with your microphone on, because I would meet so many people that I would play games with and get to know them and become really good friends with back then. It kind of changed once the PS4 and Xbox One came out because everyone kind of switched over to PS4, and I was a diehard Xbox fan. I was like, I'll never touch a Sony. So I lost a lot of them there. I wish that there was things like Discord and crossplay that we have now that would have really kept those friendships going. But I do think that it can help. I met you through Buggy's Discord server and met several other amazing people through there. And I think it can be good, but you do just kind of have to be careful. I feel like that's something that kind of gets overlooked, and people either stick to one side. They're like, no, you shouldn't make friends on the internet. Oh, people are crazy and creepy. And then there's people that are like, oh yeah, the internet's the best place ever. But you can meet a lot of really, really amazing people through the internet and make some core lifelong friends through playing games and through Instagram DMs. But you do just kind of need to take it with a grain of salt and be a little careful, I think.
Yeah, big time.
My last question for you is, with people that may be watching this video that are kind of struggling and feel like all of their friends have kind of faded away and they feel rather alone, what advice would you give to them to help them make and meet some new people and make some new friends and really kind of get out of that rut of feeling alone and feeling friendless?
Man, oh, I feel bad for. I've been there plenty of times, and I guess what I would do is for sure keep your interests alive, like things that you love doing. It doesn't matter how small they are, how big they are. It could be your career, it could be a hobby you do once a month. Just anything where you're passionate about something. Something like I'm passionate about is watching Rocket League. It's a very niche thing. I feel like nowadays it was maybe a little more accepted, maybe a couple years ago, but um, I went to go see my first LAN event, which I've never been to. They've been doing these for years, and I've never had the opportunity to go until last year. And I finally went. It was amazing. I did not make any friends while I was there, but I met a lot of cool people, and I'm going to another one this year. And that's kind of like something you can do yourself. I'm not even going with anybody. Last year I went with my ex-girlfriend at the that's now my ex-girlfriend, but now I'm just going by myself for fun. Maybe make a couple friends. It's in a town that's kind of nearby. So I hope to, see people that are locally there, and just have a good time. But, getting yourself out there, you got to take a step and, put yourself out there. Don't be too afraid to not do that, because the longer you perpetuate it, the longer you're just going to be lonely. And just be interested in things, or dive into your interests and try to find groups that have the same interests as you do. That's kind of how you make the best friends, really.
That is exactly right. You can't really make some friends that they're not interested kind of in the same thing. And if you really focus in on stuff that you're interested in, you can meet a lot of people like through Facebook groups, YouTube comment sections, or even just going through one of your favorite creators' Discord servers, joining that. You can meet a lot of like-minded people, kind of how you and I met, and really connect with them there. I know that I'm not necessarily like the biggest sports fan, but I like to go to the football games hosted at the university here. And that's how I kind of got my start in photography and met a lot of people there, where I was able to just kind of get in touch with them. I'd see them all the time, like, hey man, it's the camera guy. And we'd really just kind of click and get to talking, and I'd find out that they're interested in photography. We'd go out, we do shoots, we talk to each other on Instagram, and are really working on building that relationship and becoming better friends and building a community of people that are like-minded and want to do photography together here in town. And I think that is a key thing, is really just kind of focus on the things that you enjoy, but be open to the people that are around you. And as terrifying as it is for somebody like me, where I'm not super social, just go ahead and talk to somebody when you're waiting in line. Just be like, man, this line takes forever. And just kind of jump in and start a conversation with them. And I feel like you're really inept to making a friend, and or at least just having a good experience, which can kind of open you up to more experiences like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have bought another ticket for Rocket League if I didn't enjoy it the first time. So
Right? Exactly.
yeah.
And Rocket League is one of those things where it has a cult following. I'll have to fill you in on some stuff after this, but
Okay.
I think that's going to be it for today. I really appreciate you, Colin, for coming and talking to me. For any of you guys that are watching, I will have Colin linked down in the description down below. Please go check him out. He does a phenomenal job with content and has a lot of really deep and interesting videos that are well worth a watch. I could spend multiple days just listening to you talk and hearing your perspective on a lot of things. So I really appreciate you stopping by, Colin. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
I appreciate it and hoping to do more with you, but thank you for joining, and thank those of you that are watching this video. I hope you all did enjoy. If you would, leave us some feedback down in the comment section down below. Are you struggling with finding friends and all of your friends kind of fading away from when you were younger? Or are you kind of like Colin, where you're able to make friends anywhere that you go and have made many lifelong friends that really have improved your life, and what kind of tips and advice you have for people that might be out there struggling? I'd love to see it all in the comment section down below. But thank you all for watching. Thank you again, Colin, and I hope you have a wonderful day.